Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Real Podcasters, the show where we talk all things movies, TV shows, video games, and a bunch of other things in no particular order. My name's Regan and I'm joined by my punky co-host, it's Dan.
Hi everybody, episode 25 here. For the record, Regan has definitely watched more than me because I've had a very chaotic week.
Oh, you poor thing.
Like, he's either totally and utterly beaten me and destroyed me, or he's just ever so slightly beaten me. It's either one of the two. I've got a feeling it's probably the first one, though.
Yeah, you think it's
fine.
The
I'll
first
catch
one.
up next week.
I'll
catch up next week.
I mean,
it's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, this week we are returning to the Whoniverse with what's often seen as the most polarising series to date, or at least till every series of the Chibnall era rocked around. It's Series 6. So we taking a look at that series, talk about the high points, the various low points of this very experimental series. And of course we'll delve into our playlists, which Dan has already suggested I might have beaten him on, we'll see. And of course there's some news to talk about. And as ever, there are time codes in the description if you want to jump around a bit. I keep on forgetting to mention the time codes because I don't want people thinking, okay, we're going to start with...
I think we actually failed to mention the time codes like a few episodes ago, and I was like, did we mention it or didn't we? I guess not, but now you know.
Yeah, we're 25 episodes in. I think I mentioned them maybe 5 times, max.
It's fine.
I can retroactively add them. I'm not doing that. Yes, we're going to kick things off with, once again, we've had some passings this week. Literally in the same week, within a few days, we've seen the passing of both David Warner and Bernard Cribbins. Bernard Cribbins in particular passed away yesterday as of when we're recording a few days earlier than usual. The David Warner one, well, both obviously quite surprised me, but I think the Bernard Cribbins one just broke me, frankly.
Oh, I was the same. You know, I wasn't expecting it. And do you know what it is? I actually thought the guy was in his 80s and not his 90s.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was that old.
93. Like, that is a legacy and a half.
Sad. Extremely sad, because I think it's safe to say we both sort of know him from Doctor Who primarily, though he has been in other stuff that I've seen, like the Carry On films. He was in the Carry On films. There's also the Wombles.
I mean, of course, for us, he's best known for Wilfred Mott in the Russell T Davies era. He's coming back to play the character for the final time now in next year's 60th anniversary, which is just going to be even more heartbreaking now.
Heartbreaking, yeah.
I'm hoping he was able to get all of his stuff filmed, because I don't know. I know they took a break from filming, and it was around that point that he went into hospital. It was literally a couple of weeks ago. We didn't report on it just because, again, we don't know that this sort of thing is going to happen. Similar with David Warner, he's for Whovians, he was in Series 7's Cold War, and you know, we'll be talking about Series 7 in a couple of weeks. He's definitely one of the highlights of that episode for me personally.
Oh, definitely.
He also
very strong performance.
Yeah, he's also done a lot of stuff for Big Finish in the Doctor Who side of things. He actually played an alternate version of the Doctor in Big Finish, and we know, according to Christopher Eccleston, that he and David Warner were going to be recording something for the 60th, for Big Finish. That was basically going to be Eccleston's way of like connecting with the 60th anniversary. Again, whether or not they got to that, I don't know, because I mean, a lot of the time these audio stuff gets like recorded like a year in advance, usually, because it's technically quicker, I think.
Yeah, I guess we won't really know until the 60th actually happens, and then we find out if that actually happened or not. Hopefully it did, but you know.
I was kind of tempted to watch a bit of Series 4 after the passing of Bernard Cribbins, but honestly, I couldn't actually stomach it, frankly. I thought, I'm just gonna burst
you know what
into
it is? Like I was wanting to, but I thought I just can't. Like, it's so sad. I can't do it. Like I was just planning on watching like just a few episodes of them in, just across all the series, the ones that he's participated in, and I just couldn't. Like, 'cause I think it just would have been so upsetting, because I think he played a big part of my childhood, obviously growing up with Doctor Who and stuff like that. And by the time sort of Series 4 got to me, I love Series 4. But I don't think I could. I think it might be a while before I actually watch something and just to like kind of not necessarily get over his passing straight away, but just to kind of like just to remember him in a way, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Like,
No, definitely. I think if I was going to watch anything, it was actually going to be Daleks Invasion Earth, because he's in that as Tom Campbell, and he's again one of the highlights of that. He's hilarious. But obviously, Wolf, I think, is his defining role for the Whoniverse, and all of a sudden now, I'm definitely going to be crying my eyes out whenever he appears next year. So rest in peace to them both, absolute legends. Just a real shame that. But that being said, I like to think back on what they did rather than what they didn't, and with them they did a hell of a lot.
A very, very respectable career and very big filmography between the two.
Definitely, yeah,
without a doubt, both TV and film.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, next week we're going to be talking about Prey, the upcoming Predator prequel that's coming out on Disney+. We're both very excited for that. And I actually failed to mention the fact that the film premiered at the San Diego Comic-Con last week. So I thought I'd have a look at the early reactions. I'm assuming that you haven't?
No.
Okay then, excellent. Let's just say that the Predator franchise, in terms of like success, is pretty mid. We'll probably go with that. I think that's probably a safe thing to say. So when people call this the best Predator film since the original, that's similar to Terminator when they said The Dark Fate was the best film in the franchise since 1999, whatever year it was. I'm like, that isn't a sign of endorsement at all. That being said, some people have even called this the best of the entire franchise, which has got me really excited. A lot of people have been calling out Amber Midthunder, the lead in the film, is absolutely terrific. The action as well, the Predator themselves, apparently is utterly badass. All of a sudden, despite the fact we've only got like not even a week, I think it's like 4 or 5 days before it comes out. This is honestly like the most anticipated film for me for the rest of the year, and it's out in like a week. Looking at the rest of the slates for this year, there's nothing else that like excites me nearly as much. Maybe Shazam 2, possibly. Maybe a bit of Halloween Ends, but this I was already on board with anyway. Despite
I was
recently.
too, because let's face it, it's not a franchise that it's that good, to be honest. The only good ones are probably the first two. The rest are just Predators is fine, but you've got to be in the right mood to watch it personally. The Predator, no. That just, no.
Just no.
No.
Absolutely not. Refusal.
No.
No.
No in every other language.
No.
Just no. No.
No. Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement there. My nostalgia for Predator doesn't actually come from the original. It comes from something else, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But this one in particular, as soon as the first trailer dropped, I was absolutely sold. In particular, especially with the director as well, Dan Trachtenberg, of course, because they keep on referencing it in the trailer. He's the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane. One of the best films I've ever seen in my life, frankly. I absolutely adore that one. So, I swear to God, if this film is mediocre, I'm going to cry. Which is probably going to be the same reaction that Dan will have to Halloween Ends if it's mediocre. Then again, he's watched a lot of Halloween films that are mediocre.
Disappoints me, which I hope it won't. But considering David Gordon Green's success of it so far, I've liked both of them. So, fingers crossed. But yes, I'm looking forward to the Predator. Well, not the Predator, Prey. Definitely a better title. Like, I mean, it's actually good to see that it's not like Predator whatever now. It's just like a whole different title.
I think it would have been interesting.
Needed it.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting as well if they'd actually stuck with their original plan, which was to not actually reference the Predator at all until the film actually released. But then...
Yeah, I remember we were chatting about this on one of the episodes, and That would have been brilliant, I think, but
Yeah.
kind of holding back on something like that is, well, keeping it a secret is very difficult, and obviously it has proved to be difficult.
Yeah, to the point that it was even revealed before the trailer even dropped, which I just thought was quite funny. But yes, Prey comes out next week, so yeah, you'll be getting our full thoughts on that next week. Yay! Next up, this is one that I haven't actually referenced before, mostly because I didn't actually think it was actually legit, and that is Ryan Gosling starring in the remake of The Wolfman. Very off-kilter choice, to say the least. Like, he's not the first person I'd think of. I think initially there were rumours that Dwayne Johnson was going to do it. I'm like, no, he's not doing it.
Oh, no.
Like, please, just stop.
No.
Just stop having him in things, please. I'm kind of sick of him now.
Like, he can be in superhero stuff that is acceptable. Mm-hmm. But horror, no. No. Stay away.
I mean, like, he's already done and he's already done The Mummy Returns, and that is, of course, one of the greatest films ever made. It's not, which I don't think you've watched yet. I'm kind of like terrified. No. Oh, okay, you haven't. Okay, that's fine. So Gosling was in an interview with Collider. It was actually for The Grey Man on Netflix, which I talked about. It was either last week or the week before. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's also apparently getting a sequel. We're not actually addressing that as news because I don't care. But he was asked about the status of the Wolfman remake, and he said, "We're working on it. I would just do anything with Derek, but the idea of doing something like that just seems really exciting. It's new for both of us, but in some way I feel like it's kind of the movie we've made already a few times, but in literal form. We've always kind of made the metaphorical version of it, and it's sort of like the opportunity to just make the literal version of what we've been hacking away at. And I've always loved that character. He's just an all-time character. Just has always been on a bucket list for me, so I hope we can do it. But we've got to get it right." It's nice to see that they're taking the time with that one, because, I mean, I'm still yet to watch the original Wolfman. That's still on my watch list. I did see the Benicio del Toro one. I've seen it quite a few times in my life. I'll defend quite a few aspects of that film. I actually like it. It's not a good movie by any means. It's hacked to hell. Even the director's cut is still hacked to hell. And again, the choice to have Ryan Gosling as the Wolfman, I'm just trying to picture essentially a furry version of Ryan Gosling, which sounds weird when you say it out loud.
Context matters.
Yeah. It's just a case of whether or not this is done by Blumhouse, who did the Invisible Man remake a couple of years ago, which I watched finally a couple of weeks ago, which I really liked. If it's in a similar vein to that, I wouldn't mind.
No, I don't think I'd mind either, to be honest. I mean, they did a good job with the Invisible Man, so if they take on the Wolfman, then they've definitely got my attention.
It's just that I wouldn't mind seeing a good werewolf film for the first time in a very long time, or at least a big one, because let's face it, a lot of the werewolf stuff that I've watched in the last couple of years has been very indie, very, very small, which I've really liked.
A bit like Werewolf Castle.
I was waiting for that one.
Yep.
It's just... They looked more like Wookiees. I don't get it. They look more like Wookiees than werewolves.
Wookiee Castle.
Oh my god. I like that version far, far more. See. Okay, and now it's ruined. Chewy backer. But yeah, this is what I'm definitely interested in, but I think it's going to be quite a few years before we actually get to it. But fingers crossed, because I think anything that Ryan Gosling picks, it's usually, for a good reason. It's similar to someone like Christian Bale, until Thor: Love and Thunder. So, yeah, we'll see.
Hot take.
Speaking of Marvel, but not Thor, in a surprise reveal that I don't think anyone saw coming, it's now been confirmed that Shang-Chi director Destin Cretton is going to be directing Avengers 5, the Kang Dynasty. That just came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that at all.
It was very out of the blue. I remember you sending me the article. It's just like,
yeah, I even said in it, I was like, this is what this is what we call in the industry a bit of an upgrade, because doing Shang-Chi is one thing, but then all of a sudden jump into an Avengers film. Suddenly, I can guarantee that Shang-Chi is actually going to be one of the core leads of that one, which I actually don't mind. I actually really like him as a character, and I still like the film. I didn't love it in the same way that other people did, but I definitely, the direction of that was definitely one of the high points. I just hope that Destin's got more free reign over the Avengers one, so at least it delivers something that's a little bit more memorable overall, especially with it being as big a film as it's probably going to be. That being said, I know nothing about Kang the Conqueror outside of Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, which is probably not good.
Yeah, I was about to say, I literally know Kang the Conqueror from Lego Marvel Superheroes.
Yeah. I'm facing he steals worlds or something, doesn't he? I think he does.
Something like that. I mean, he's just a giant Lego figure in those films, so...
Yeah.
Films? Games?
I mean...
I was going to say.
They're about as epic.
Hell, I would love a Lego Marvel film.
Yeah.
If Batman can have it, Marvel can.
Well, exactly. That being said, I wasn't actually big on Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. It was a bit scattered. That being said, Pete Serafinowicz Kang was actually pretty funny. So... all of a sudden, Jonathan Majors now has the voice of Darth Maul to beat. So good luck with that one. But yeah, I'm definitely interested. I mean, whenever it's the Avengers stuff, I'm usually quite interested anyway. And I think this choice of director, I think, is a smart one, especially because he's still quite indie. So we might get like a very indie kind of Avengers movie, but we won't know until May 2025 when this bloody thing finally releases, providing there's no more COVID. Provided. Or unless it's the monkeypox this time. Is that topical to talk about? I don't know.
Could be anything at this point.
It could be anything. One thing that is getting released this year is Pinocchio, but not the one that no one on the planet is interested in. It's the Guillermo del Toro version on Netflix.
I'm just going to say straight up front, when you sent me that trailer, I didn't watch it.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Dan. Okay, I'll keep it brief. Again.
I have no interest, so why the hell would I?
Oh, so now all of a sudden you're trying to curb the swearing. I actually appreciate that.
Look.
Now...
I don't really give a toss about live action stuff on Disney. I really don't. I certainly don't care about Pinocchio.
Would you care if it's directed by Guillermo del Toro and is stop motion?
No.
Are you kidding me?
I'd rather go watch Mad God, a disgusting stop motion horror film. Again.
Okay, well, as I say, I'll keep it quite brief. This is definitely... this is a decidedly darker interpretation of the Pinocchio story compared to whatever the hell Disney's going to do, which is going to be nice and safe and all that sort of stuff, whereas this one's actually taking some feckin' risks with the source material, which I kind of like, especially because the original Pinocchio does actually get dark, like in ways I was not expecting when I first watched it. Like, I knew nothing about the story of the original film until I watched it, and then like halfway through he suddenly turns into a donkey and there's loads of like smoking and stuff. I was like, what the hell is this? It's like, Christ almighty. But I think this is set in Italy or something, in like the 16th or 17th century, so I'm really looking forward to this. Pinocchio looks like he has a personality. The film as a whole looks like it has personality and a soul and a reason to exist. And you're kind of getting the hint that the Disney one isn't going to have that.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm acting like Pinocchio is like the greatest film ever. It's not. Like, it isn't, but I'd rather do something a little bit different with the source material than just do the same film again, but have Tom Hanks looking bored out of his mind. Like, I don't know why Tom Hanks agreed to do that one. I also forgot the name of his character. I told my girlfriend what I accidentally thought it was. I'm not going to mention it on the internet because it's... yeah. I'll just message Dan that later. Just because, well, I thought it was funny and it made her laugh like hell. So, you know.
Oh dear. I dread to think now.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's not. And the final bit of news. Again, this this came about, I don't know if it was this morning or something, but Ben Affleck has now been confirmed to be coming back as Batman in Aquaman 2. It's like, do you want to make up your mind,
Question
Ben?
is, though, is it going to be like he's part of the film, or is it going to be an end credit thing?
I mean, even if it's just like a passing thing, I don't mind. Even if he's just Bruce Wayne, that's absolutely fine. That does actually confirm, though, that he probably survives The Flash, which none of us are going to after watching it. That was a bit of a... though that means that I don't even know which one comes out first. I don't know if it's Aquaman or Flash. I've got no idea.
I'm pretty sure it's Aquaman. I mean...
Is it actually? Oh, okay, fair enough then.
Okay, let me just look at this up very quickly then.
Should I do some like elevator music just to sort of like pad out the runtime?
I mean, you can do.
Do 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 do.
17th of March 2023 it comes out.
Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, I mean, this is a film I was still a bit on the fence with. Just because, I mean, you know, I do quite like the first one, but I'm not in a mad rush to see like a 3 hour of it. I mean, apparently it's like nearly 3 hours, and I was like, I don't need to see 3 hours of CGI Jason Momoa hair, quite frankly.
3 hours of CG water.
Ugh. Well, you know, we're already going to get that with Avatar 2, which is probably apparently going to be around 3 hours long, and James Cameron was like, I don't think you're in the right position to be complaining when you're happy to binge an entire series of a show in like one day, just like 8 or 9 hours. And even then I was like, you've got a good point, actually. There isn't really a call for it, frankly.
Stop your whinging, James Cameron says.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this one I felt was quite surprising, especially because he kind of like washed his hands. Well, Ben Affleck had washed his hands of the Batman character by this point anyway. So all of a sudden, I can guarantee the reaction that people are going to have from this, because I haven't seen the reaction from people on the internet. It's probably just going to be, oh, okay, so we're going to get Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 now because he's coming back. I'm like, no, that isn't what it means.
Yeah, the things that people will jump to.
Oh yeah, honestly, looking at the comments from people after Comic-Con when they got annoyed that Henry Cavill wasn't revealed to be Superman again, or there wasn't anything about Justice League, and they're like, oh my god, I was just so annoyed, because I mean, they were talking about this for ages, like no one was talking about it. Like the internet was talking about it for like 2 days, like prior, that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, and instead, DC just revealed 2 things, because they're just great like that. Didn't even get a trailer for Aquaman anyway. But yes, Ben Affleck back for Aquaman 2, and that's it. Just the news, nice and simple. We will now move swiftly on to Dan's massive playlist. I'm glad I said that properly, because that's...
You got it like massive, you know, with the emphasis.
Dan's massive.
Massive.
Oof.
Context matters.
Context. But yes.
Context.
I'd like to know your 35... No, sorry. How many, sorry? 13.
13 this week, which is
that is
quite
dire.
small. As I say, this has been a very chaotic week.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it is TV stuff. I just needed something simple, because I just didn't have the attention span to sit and watch a feature film, because I have been absolutely twatted this week. Yeah.
I'm putting that
so
on a t-shirt.
We're starting with The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 6 from season 7. I just fancied watching a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched 6 of them, just random ones, not like in any particular order, just fancied watching just different ones. So I watched 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Fair enough.
All through different seasons. I love Treehouse of Horror. I've loved it since I was a kid.
Yeah, same.
It's so weird. Some of because obviously it's broken up into different little like stories, and some of them are just so fun. The one where Homer goes into this like 3-dimensional world. It's so daft. It's so trippy as well.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, like it all happens because he kicks a cone and the cone penetrates the 3D world and everything just gets sucked in.
Which is the one? I mean, I'm assuming it's a Treehouse of Horror, but which is the one when they're kidnapped by Kang and Kodos and they're trying to figure out if Kang and Kodos are going to eat them? I'm fairly certain that's Treehouse of Horror, isn't it? I think it's earlier on.
Yeah, it is a Treehouse of Horror because because they think that they're gonna eat them, and then they don't, and then it is a Treehouse of Horror. I'm pretty sure. I'm very certain of it. But yeah, speaking of Kang Kodos, one of the Treehouse of Horrors is Maggie is actually the child of Kang and Kodos.
Oh god, yeah, and there's like tentacles and stuff, and you're just like, what the hell?
It's like, oh look, our baby legs fell off. What? Okay then. Next up, this was a little bit different for me, as I say, busy week. So I've just been watching a few retrospectives on my favourite horror franchise, Halloween. So I watched a very in-depth review / retrospective of Halloween 2, which was really interesting. I learned a lot of things about the trivia and stuff like this, as well as the behind the scenes, so it was really interesting. Now, we spoke about this last week, Regan. GTA Online's The Criminal Enterprises update.
Yes.
So this is finally here. This came to us on Tuesday. Okay, this is... I think I'm definitely with the majority of people on this and not in the minority. The minority of people just love this game. You know, they think every update just is fantastic.
Yeah.
This is quite frankly too little too late. This is just desperate.
Yeah.
In my mind. This should have been done years ago. When
yeah, definitely. It's like 4
public
or 5
sessions
years later.
and selling in public sessions was a thing. I'm pretty sure it started off with Special Cargo, the thing with the warehouse and the crates. I'm pretty certain that's when it started. That is when it should have been put into that. And I mean, yeah, the griefing wasn't too bad, but it's highly annoying when you have to go get 3 crates in a slow-ass van and you're just prey. Like Rockstar can't literally just say, like, oh, well, just don't attack players, because they're not going to listen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I found this pretty funny, like, their newswire about they're hoping to reduce griefing. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, of course not.
That is not going to stop unless you completely get rid of stuff that griefers use.
But I think
For
as
example,
well...
the Oppressor.
I think as well, I mean, the kind of game that is, you know, you're literally all criminals. It makes sense that you'd be killing each other. That makes perfect sense. I think it's...
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
It's one of those things that, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're never going to get rid of them, because I think if you try to, it's going to backfire massively and people will just find another way to do it, frankly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely the same with you, where it's like... Because, I mean, I've also been playing it. But, I mean, I'm assuming you've been playing it on the PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing it on the...
Like, look, the added addition of actually finally being able to just do things in an invite-only lobby is great. But it's just very late. Like, it's nearly 10 years late.
Yeah.
It's pretty...
I think as well...
and as I said, it's desperation, because, like, in my mind, they've only done this just to try reel people back in, but, like, people just really aren't really into GT Online anymore, because it's like, what is the end goal of this game anymore? That just doesn't feel like there's an actual end. It's just like, okay, we're going to bring out a new DLC. And I've played some of this DLC, and it's just very rinse and repeat. They just add some new contact in, you do a bunch of missions, that's it. There's nothing... I mean, it connects into the casino with the Duggans and stuff like this, but it's still very rinse and repeat. You're not doing anything that's, like, truly excitable. I mean, the only thing that GT Online is now is just Business Simulator 2022, because that is all there is to do now.
Yeah.
You just go buy a bunch of businesses, make profit, but, like, what is the end goal?
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like, well, you know, if you get bored of selling businesses, go and do a heist, but, like, you can only do the Cayo Perico heist so many times before you're absolutely bored to death of it. It's like the casino one. I can't even go near the original heist because of how many times I've done them. I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, I struggle severely. Like, I've done a couple of setups and stuff like this, and I'm just sort of sat there peeling my skin off with boredom. Because it just isn't fun anymore. Like, I have to give it credit where credit's due. On seeing with the griefing, I have noticed that it's not as bad now, particularly with the Oppressor Mark II, because they have put a nerf on it.
Yeah, definitely.
The tracking missiles on the Oppressor were very OP. Now, I used to have an Oppressor, but I did not use it for griefing at all. I used it strictly for money making. I flew around the map, getting point to point A, that was it. It was handy, and it still is. For griefing, however, it was an absolute pain in the ass, but now they've in some ways they've made it kind of like the buzzard tracking system, where like the missiles are very... You have like a sort of 50-50 chance, I think, of hitting something, because, I mean, when I came back from work on Tuesday, I played it, and I got into like a public lobby, and there was some imbecile on a bike
Already?
of doom. Yeah, and I mean, I literally just joined. I didn't do a thing, but this guy was chasing me around the map, firing missiles. And I mean, I could hear the lock-on thing, but it just went straight past me. I thought, oh,
okay.
that's new.
Oops.
Because usually when you hear that on an oppressor, it's game over, isn't it? But now
Yeah.
they've totally and utterly nerfed that. They've also nerfed the countermeasures on it, so you can't just spam the countermeasures. You have to wait for a cooldown. So you actually have a chance of blowing it up.
Oh, excellent then.
But yeah, it's look, I've enjoyed it. It's actually nice just being able to sell your stuff without being blown up and affording things. But again, like, they just add in stuff that costs like 2-3 million. Like, we have other things more constructive to do in our lives and sit for hours on end just grinding a bunch of crates, cars and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it amazes me that people make a living off this game by doing YouTube videos and that. I'm thinking, how can you? Like, how do you not end up so bored? Because you're literally just playing Business Simulator, as I said. You're just playing Illegal Business Simulator 2022.
There's literally some of
You
them
steal
that do,
cars,
like...
you sell counterfelts.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like...
there's literally some of them that can do, like, 4 or 5 YouTube videos on it a day, and they just make loads of money, and it's just
which
really...
which is mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's frankly a bit of a piss take, to be honest.
But yeah, it's entertaining nonetheless, but I think it's kind of running out of steam now, so I'm just looking forward to a new GTA game at this point. Look, I'm going to continue playing it. It's just some mindless fun, really. But it's okay. I've started the second season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, just 3 episodes in. I'm still loving it. It's definitely a lot funnier, I think, this time around compared to season 1. So much more funnier. Another retrospective by a YouTuber called Leighton Eversole. He does really like in-depth reviews and retrospectives. So this was for Halloween 5. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, again, with the production, things like this. So this was really interesting to hear about. And following on from that, while I was at work on a break, I watched a retrospective of Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, or basically known as Halloween 6. Again, a review and retrospective. The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror episode 9, 10 and 11. Again, just fancied watching. I didn't want to really like start from just the first ever episode. I just kind of fancied going this, that and the other, because there's some I really, really like. And some of the segments of them are just so funny. As I said, the one with Maggie is just an absolute stroke of genius. Definitely. I just did not expect that. I remember watching it as a kid, and that traumatized me. It was so creepy. Like, there's a scene where her legs just fall off and the tentacles sprout, and then she just climbs on the ceiling. It's like, oh god. It's like, come here, Maggie. It's like, But yes, that is all 13 watches and my hot take-ish of GTA Online's new DLC, the Criminal Enterprises update.
Ah, right. Okay. You believe that I had completely trumped you in regards to the amount of things I've watched this week.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Oh.
I have watched a grand total of 13 things.
No way!
I was like, oh, for God's sake.
No way!
And I was thinking to myself, I've watched quite a bit this week. Like, no, I've just watched the exact same amount as you. I'm just like, I am no.
You know what it is,
off.
right? It actually started off as 4 things, but like, I'm gonna have to watch more because this podcast is gonna need more content than 4 things.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. You can say you've watched 4 things. I'm waiting for one week where I've watched absolutely nothing. I've been so busy.
It's just gonna be you just playing through Alien Isolation again, and that is it.
I really have to get back to that, but I think I got to a point where I'm stuck with the androids and I lost like 10 or 15 minutes of progress. I'm like, fuck that, I'm not going near that for a while. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I will actually reference GTA as well. I will also say we are hoping to do an episode focusing specifically on the game in September because it's the 9-year anniversary. So we'll definitely be talking about that, and especially of all the updates that we've had. I've not done nearly as much. I've honestly just stuck with the invite only stuff, just doing the warehouse stuff. It is still a bit of a grind though, purely because I'm literally one person. Yeah. We can't play it together now because you play on PC and I've got the next gen version of it. Which even if you went back to your Xbox, I'm not sure if you could actually play with us. I don't actually know.
I have no clue, to be honest, but I'm sort of jealous of you because you got a free car apparently.
No.
Huh?
I
saw this thread.
Yeah, you can.
GTA Plus players get like a free car.
I am not doing I'm not doing a monthly subscription to GTA. You can get away and shite.
Wait. Hold on.
That is what it is.
There's a subscription?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my stars! Just nah. I'm not doing that. It's an absolute waste of money, and it's just stingy as hell. So no, so no, thank you. But because I don't trust anyone else in that game to work alongside, I'm literally just doing it on my own. So it's literally one crate at a time. So the maximum I can sell in one go, I think, is like 6 before it says you're gonna need someone else to help you. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, Dan's kind of MIA. So it's still a bit of a grind. I think I've gotten
I know the struggle, Regan, because again, I've kind of been sticking with the warehouse stuff because I started again like a few weeks ago. I'm like level 50 something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm like 17 or 18. I'm pretty low, frankly.
Like, I just got the cheapest warehouse and I just buy 3 crates, but I suppose the thankfulness of having the ability to just do it in invite only is like, these are the 2 crates while you're off putting the other one in the warehouse. They just sit there waiting for you. There's not somebody trying to blow them up or take them. So I suppose that in a way, it is still a bit of a grind, but at least you're not having to actually worry about other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, literally, I haven't been in a single public lobbies since the update, just because I'm just embracing the fact that I can just actually just play it just on my own. That being said, it does get a bit boring after a couple of hours, so I'm just like, I'll do it for like an hour and then just stop because I'm just doing the same thing back and forth. That being said, I do actually like playing the current gen version anyway, like especially on performance modes, just so like the frame rate as well is just nice and smooth. Especially online, it is like literally nice and smooth, which I never thought we'd ever see. Because the online is, it's flaky as hell.
It's very clunky. Yeah, it's very clunky.
But that's only like the main game I've played this week. I've done a little bit of Assassin's Creed again, but there we go. First watch is a rewatch. For the first time in years, Predator, the original Predator.
Yay!
It's weird because I'd forgotten how good of a film this actually is. Like, it is legitimately really, really good. I'd forgotten how, like, the first... Because it's the kind of, like, 80s kind of thing where you'd get it nowadays and it's like a throwback, but it does something a little bit different with the genre. So, literally, like, the first act of the film is just, like, your typical standard, generic 1980s macho, muscle-bound, explodey-woody stuff. And then the second act is a slasher where they just get killed off one by one because they're completely useless. And then the third act, you literally have Arnold Schwarzenegger at his most vulnerable in any film ever. I actually kind of love that. And again, John McTiernan directs the shit out of that. He's absolutely terrific. That means that I still find it hilarious that Alan Silvestri does the score for that. I'm like, the guy who did the Avengers did Predator. That doesn't compute.
Ah, yeah, he did.
That's all.
Yeah.
So yes, I was very much a fan of that. Monday was once again film night for me and my girlfriend. So we watched The Dark Knight Rises because I haven't watched that for years and I haven't watched it in 4K yet. I've said in the past that this one was actually my favourite of the three, but I tend to flicker between all three because I absolutely adore all of them. Again, I haven't watched this for maybe 5 years, maybe. And I actually think it should be a bit shorter, which is ironic because back in the day I actually said it should be longer because I wanted to see more of Bane's reign of terror over Gotham while he's knitting in the background, which I just love as a I just love the little thing. He's just like there's something like just like major going on in like the foreground, and in the background he's just like, I'm making a scarf because it's nice and cold. Also, Tom Hardy is absolutely awesome as Bane. Like, I love him.
Oh, he's brilliant as Bane.
Yeah.
Like, what I remember when first watching it, and I just thought, who on earth is playing Bane? Because he is terrific. And then it was Tom Hardy, who would later go on to be an actor in one of Regan's favourite films.
Hang on, which one? Are we taking the piss? Which one is it? Oh. Oh, dear. I'm now actively trying to think because it's clearly sarcasm.
Well, yeah.
You're gonna have to give us a hint here.
It's black and gooey.
Black and oh yeah. I'd actually forgot. I completely forgot it was Tom Hardy.
You peanut.
Those films are really, really shit. It doesn't matter whatever the hell Dan says.
Hence why I sarcastically said favourite film.
Anyway.
But yeah, he's brilliant as Bane. He's absolutely terrific as Bane.
I also love the score as well. I think the score is the best.
Oh, yes. Yes.
There was also a weird thing that I noticed when watching it, and I even mentioned it to my girlfriend while we were watching. This is the only film of the trilogy where every single bullet that's fired never looks real. Like whenever anyone gets shot, they just sort of just like jump away and just sort of like fall over as if they've just like tripped over a brick or something. They don't look like they've been shot. Now, yeah, fair enough, it's PG-13, you can't have bullet holes and stuff, but it doesn't look real at all. Which is something weird.
It looks like one of those like a theatre production when there's like something like that, and then like you have to kind of go on a signal to fall and be dead.
Yeah. Whether or not I have it as my favourite still, I'm not sure. I used to have it on my top 4 favourites tabs on Letterboxd. I don't have that now. Mostly because, again, like all three are pretty interchangeable because I love them all for various reasons. Though I think I'm the same for a lot of people. I think The Dark Knight is probably the most consistent, but I still love the finality of Dark Knight Rises. Even if now, after seeing Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman in The Batman, she is like so much better than Anne Hathaway, who works really well with the Christian Bale one. It was also nice for my girlfriend to finally get context to why I keep on like reciting the line, "Where is it? Where is it?" and as soon as Batman starts saying that a bit, and she just sort of turned to us, it's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. It's absolutely iconic." I just feel sorry for Christian Bale's throat. I'm just like, I'm surprised he can even talk anymore. The poor sod, just like.
Wait, look at that bit in the bloomin' Dark Knight when he's interrogating the Joker. Where is he? Like, his voice must have been on fire. Ow.
Yeah, for sure. So, as I say, it was nice to watch it. Next up was a first-time watch of Predator 2, a film that I have been told constantly is not very good, and people don't like it, and people prefer Predators.
If you want Dan's opinion of it, it's okay. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's okay.
Is it better than the first one? No. It's not. I still really like it, though. I actually like it a lot more than I was expecting. I was actually quite surprised when I finished. Like, holy crap, I actually really like that one. I like the fact that it just completely changes genre. It doesn't try to redo the film again. It does something totally else different. Entirely. It's literally a detective story with a predator running around. I quite like that. Yeah. The third act on the
Bill
ship.
Paxton.
yeah, the third act on the spaceship is really good, and of course, I think the same for a lot of people. I think it has like the greatest Easter egg in film history, with the xenomorph skull on the wall.
Oh, I tell you what, like, it may not be my favourite Predator film ever, but I always love that bit. Just seeing the xenomorph skull.
It
Brill.
did make me question though if xenomorphs actually have skulls. Like I just assumed that they didn't, just because of like
Yeah,
the way they're
they have a
designed.
skeleton. Yeah, they have a skeleton.
But then also their skeleton's kind of on the outside, if you think
Yeah.
about it. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, I think it's severely underrated. I actually think it's really good. As I say, not quite as good as the first one. Finished off the first series of Horrible Histories with episode 12 and 13. It's funny. And watched the first episode of series 2. Still really good. I've literally only watched those 3 this week. Again, with us recording a little bit earlier, I might have gotten to a few more, but didn't get that. Next up, first time watch, Predators. I had to watch this in 2 sittings because I thought it was crap.
Oh, yeah.
I really didn't like it. If I wanted to see Adrian Brody's attempt at Batman, I would ask for that. But I haven't asked for that because he can't do it.
To me, that film is just like, we're just going to get a variety of different actors and put them in some scenario that just involves predators. That's about it.
Yeah, it's just sort of... You can also tell that it's Robert Rodriguez, and I'm just like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, it looks quite cheap in
It screams
places.
Robert Rodriguez. It is a Robert Rodriguez film.
Yeah, I didn't care about a single thing going on. I mean, yeah, the Predators look quite cool, but that's about it. Actually, okay, I'll give it credit. They do update some of the visuals for the Predator whenever they're firing the weapons. They do look better. But that's it. I really didn't like it at all. I thought it was naff. Next up was Halo Season 1, Episode 8, penultimate episode. The one where Master Chief has sex.
The universe explodes.
I mean, it's very brief, in his briefs.
Was his energy sword visible?
I was thinking more like his Spartan laser.
Oh God, no!
Maybe his gravity
No.
hammer. Anyway.
No, stop! Right, stop it! No,
Yeah, no. Look,
bad
here's the thing.
Regan.
People were like really getting angry about this when the episode initially released in America. It's barely anything. It's on for like seconds.
Yeah,
Again, I mean, for one, I'll give them credit. They do focus on Master Chief again in this episode, which is good because he's the only interesting character in this series. And it's certainly better than the last one, which I thought was basically a turd with with a couple of characters in it. Again, the good stuff is between Chief and Cortana. That like core relationship is very much still intact, and I still really like it.
yeah.
I'm just curious as to what they're going to do with the finale because I literally don't know how the hell season 1 ends, despite it coming out like a couple of weeks ago, technically in America. So we've got that to look forward to. Right. Okay. This isn't actually the one you're thinking of, so it's fine. First time watch of the longest film I've ever seen in my life. Yes, it is longer than Zack Snyder's Justice League of 4 hours and 2 minutes.
Oh my God!
This is the 5 hour long In Search of Tomorrow, which I mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Yes.
This is just extensive as hell. This is like a proper like fanboy's dream. One could easily argue it's just them reciting a load of like iconic science fiction films from 1980 to 1989. I'm like, yeah, you're simplifying it, but the ones they pick are important. I've always been a big fan of science fiction to begin with anyway, so this film was made for me, and also made by me technically because I helped fund the thing. So I got a thing in the credits, which was quite weird to have. Frankly, I've got
Like a
literally got
special
Blu-ray.
thanks thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Currently, this is the best film I've seen all year, just because it's literally, as I say, it's the definitive documentary on 1980s sci-fi. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is maybe some more indie stuff, which I think if they do a sequel, which they have done with the horror themed ones that they did, where they did like the big stuff, then the smaller stuff, then the straight to video stuff. So I'm assuming if they do another one, we'll get the smaller stuff, which would be quite nice. But absolutely adored it. Thought it was absolutely terrific. Again, 5 hours long, so I kind of watched it in chunks because I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
I wouldn't exactly expect. Well, I somewhat expected you to just sit through the entire thing, but you know, we got to do what we got to do.
Literally, I did it in 1 hour chunks. It just seemed fair. Next up was one that's been on my watch list for a while, is Don't Look Up. This is on Netflix, directed by Adam McKay and starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence as two scientists who discover a comet is going to hit the Earth. So they go on a big media tour to try and, explain to people about this thing, and no one gives a shit. Like, no one does.
Literally.
And it's weird because it is absolutely a comedy. Like, for sure. It's really, really funny.
Yeah.
But it's funny because people are frustrating as hell in this. Like one of the early scenes is them going on a talk show trying to talk about it, and they're saying it's going to kill 100% of human life. And like, is it actually 100% or is it a little bit less? And like, well, maybe 99.7. I was like, okay, so I mean, it isn't actually 100. So maybe don't say 100, just say like some.
Oh man.
But I think as well, it's because people definitely like this. We even saw this recently. I think it was on GB News a couple of weeks ago. It was because of the heat wave that was coming along, and there was a guy on talking about it, and the news report and the presenter just said, "You're being very negative about this. Can we not just be happy about the fact we've got some really hot, sunny weather for once?" And you're just like, that isn't the point of this, frankly. I mean, if we were suddenly going to end up in an ice age, I'm not expecting people to be like, well, thank God we're getting even more snow. We can make more snowmen and just celebrate Christmas.
It's like, well,
like,
let's be more positive, guys, okay?
Yeah, it's just
Think of the sledding.
Yeah, and I think as well,
it's not really the point.
Yeah, it's definitely hit home a little bit differently, especially after COVID and stuff like that, and people's reaction to it and stuff like that. I'm not going to spoil how it ends, but considering the way that it's set up, you know exactly how it's going to end. And it's just like, yep, everyone fucking deserves that. Well done. But yes, I thought it was... I mean, it's not amazing by any means. It's pretty, it's a pretty general kind of film. But again, the satire works and the frustration is real. The frustration is real. Mm-hmm. Alien vs. Predator.
Which one?
The first one.
Okay, that's okay. It's not great. It's fine. It's okay.
Well, here's the thing. For a little bit, I was thinking I could watch The Predator, but I thought I hated Predators, and the only way I can watch The Predator is if I rent it. Screw that. I'm not doing that.
Don't.
So I watched my first introduction to both Alien and Predator with Alien vs. Predator. So I'm very biased towards this film because this is how I got my first hint at both these creatures. I do like it. I think it's actually pretty decent. I love the world building. I love the idea of the pyramid in the Antarctic. I think it does a pretty good job at setting up why the Predators are hunting the aliens. It just about gets away with explaining why in Aliens they never addressed the fact that aliens were running around on Earth in 2004. They kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
Only just. When both creatures are on screen and they're in the costumes and the fighting, it's really awesome. I love the alien queen. I think she's really badass. There's some humans in this. I don't know their names, like, at all.
I think the thing that annoys me most about that film is how toned down it is and watered it down. It's just... You take two of cinema's monsters and you put them in this arguably hour and a bit slog of them battling
it is
it
quite
out.
annoying.
I mean, the battles are cool. Like,
oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. As you said, that one of my favourite ones is when, I think it's like the first fight, and I remember being in like this like copyright trailer thing, of like HD or something like that, and it's basically where the Predator grabs the alien by the tail and throws him through pillars in the pyramid. Yeah. It's in that trailer. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I really like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fights are really cool, but the humans are just so wooden.
I do find it quite funny. Yeah, I do find it quite funny though. I legitimately cringe at the point when the lead one, I think her name is Lex or something, I don't know, and she suddenly partners up with the Predator. I was like,
oh, I know.
I'm not buying that. Although I did chuckle quite a bit when you see that he cuts off the Xenomorph's head to turn it into like a hand shield for her. I'm like,
yeah.
No
I think it's the tail that is like
used as like
a
staff.
Spear. Yeah.
Suddenly when I saw her holding it as like a shield, I was like, I'm suddenly thinking about that episode of Horrible Histories with the Viking king, the chops off someone's head and carries it around with him, and then the teeth graze his leg and he dies of gangrene. I'd quite like that to happen to her.
Just the acid like just dripping out like.
Oops, never mind.
The bit with the whole marking with the xenomorph blood as well. I mean, why team up with the Predator anyway? If we've learned anything about the Predator, is he does not team up with humans.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But this is just very different. This is entirely separate. It's not canon. It's just its own thing. So I'll give it that.
Yeah. I might have also watched Alien vs Predator 2 literally this morning.
Oh. Right, well, what did you see, quite frankly?
I saw it's
darkness.
Yeah, lots and lots of darkness.
Night vision.
And how it's literally just like a teen slasher version of Alien vs Predator, and I'm like, screw that. No, absolutely not. I mean, the Pred alien looks quite cool. That's about it.
That is probably about the only decent thing in the film. That's if you can actually see the alien at times, though.
Yeah, of course. No, it's crap. But I've got to hope that it's better than the Predator. Or is the Predator better? By default. By default, probably.
Right, Dan's opinion here, right, it's...
false.
Alien vs Predator is better. The first Alien vs Predator is better than the Predator.
Good.
But Alien vs Predator Requiem is just absolute hot xenomorph turd. The Predator is just sort of in the middle. It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't like it. It's just... It's okay. And
the final rewatch was something decidedly better. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Again, I decided to just rewatch it for one because the IMAX version is on Disney Plus, thank God. And after the announcement about Avengers 5, I thought I want to go back and watch it.
Yeah, may as well.
Yeah, because this film came out last year, we haven't really addressed the film. I mentioned it a little bit earlier on. My opinion still remains pretty much the same in that the first two acts are absolutely terrific, like genuinely really, really damn good.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a shame about the third act.
Yeah, just like as soon as the dragons
I wouldn't say it's
up,
not horrific though. It's just
nah, it's not. It's still a good
You have
movie.
these two really strong acts, and then the third act just kind of loses steam.
It just goes back into the same sort of thing that like the rest of the MCU was doing, and it was doing a good job to not do that. That being said, we are getting a sequel at some point. Whether or not that's before Avengers 5 now, I don't know, because Destin Cretton is still directing that one as well.
Yeah.
So, who knows really. But, yeah, I still like it. And that's it for me. That is my playlist. Decidedly more controversial with Alien vs Predator 2 Requiem, but there we go.
Alien vs Predator Rectum,
yeah. I actually also, last little bit on that one actually, only because I think it's funny, is the fact that it sets up another one with Mrs. Yutani or something. I was like, I actually completely forgot that was a thing. I was like, you are not getting a sequel. You are not doing that at all.
There's a good reason why it never happened.
Yeah.
Mostly because we just don't see much of that film at all, really, because, apparently lighting just doesn't exist in that film.
Yeah. Well, it does. It's just sort of off in the corner, off screen a little bit.
And there's green, but it's night vision, which is just blinding.
But yes, that is everything I've watched this week. We're now going to move swiftly on to the Whoniverse once again with Doctor Who Series 6. No, that's fine. So, are you quite finished? No. Oh,
Okay,
you know what it is? That honestly just reminds us of the cringy stuff behind the scenes whenever Matt Smith and James Corden were doing the theme, and it's like I hate it so much. I really don't like it. It really hurts.
I'll stop now.
It really hurts every single skin cell. Weirdly enough. So this isn't as much of a departure between. There isn't much of a departure between series 5 and 6 compared to 5 and 4. Decidedly so. There's still a bit of a change, with everything feeling just that little bit bigger and grander. The stories are a little bit more widespread and decidedly more epic. And this is also the first series to be split in two, with the cliffhanger at the end of Good Man Goes to War, capping off Series 6A, and then the show returning later in the autumn. There was a lot of rumours around why that was going on. Initially, it was Steve Moffat claimed that it was his idea to have the cliffhanger of A Good Man Goes to War, because then you could do that, give it a little bit, and then move on with Let's Kill Hitler. We'll talk about that one. But more recently, on that Doctor Who The Fan Show thing on YouTube, when he did a 3-part interview with them, he actually said he had absolutely no control over the scheduling. It was BBC One's idea to split it in half, because apparently there was something going on over the summer that they didn't want it to clash with, although both he and myself have absolutely no idea what the hell it was, because it wasn't the Olympics, because that was the year after.
No, I have no idea.
No idea. But still, this is a very experimental series, to say the least.
Without a doubt.
And this wouldn't be the first.
When you look back on the other series, you definitely see some experimentation, without a doubt.
Yeah. Obviously, the biggest thing is the fact, beyond the split in half, is the fact that it goes closer to the classic series, where it's more of a serialised thing. Looking at the core 13 episodes, not counting the Christmas episode, which we'll get to, you've got 7 episodes that form one story. Each one is intrinsically tied to the other, where the rest are just offhand adventures just to have fun, basically. Yeah. This is something that would get used again in Series 13, which we'll get to very long in the future. I've got many things to say on that one, but that one is literally just one story over 6 episodes. It definitely can work. Whether or not it works here, we'll obviously get to. So in terms of the writing, we've still got Stephen Moffat back for Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon. Day of the Moon. A Good Man Goes to War. Let's have some fun with Adolf Hitler. That's actually the title. The Why of River Song, we'll call it.
The Why of River Song.
And then the critically acclaimed masterpiece that is The Doctor, The Widow, and The Wardrobe. We've also got the pirate one, Curse of the Black Spot by Stephen Thompson. Neil Gaiman, the Neil Gaiman writing The Doctor's Wife. We've got The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People by Matthew Graham. Night Terrors by Mark Gatiss. The Girl Awaited by Tom McCrea, who I didn't actually realise this at the time. He has actually written for Doctor Who before.
All right.
Would you like to know which one he wrote?
What one?
Well, I'll give you a hint. Because you won't be able to get it. Or at least maybe you'll suggested purely out of sarcasm. It was in Series 2.
Oh, bollocks.
Oh. Yeah. Bollocks. Spoiled a choice there.
Long time ago. I have no clue.
Fear her.
Oh, Tom, no.
Whoopsie daisy.
Oh yeah, talk about a whoopsie daisy, alright.
Yeah.
God.
We've also got Toby Whithouse for The God Complex and Gareth Roberts for Closing Time. As I say, with this being a more serialised series, this one, the main story is surrounding The Silence, a weird, shadowy, religious, culty kind of thing, with aliens that pop in and out of your memory whenever you don't look at them. You've got eye patch people. You've got River Song. We get more details on who she is. And the Doctor dies at the beginning. There's a lot in this series, quite frankly. It starts off with just everything. Although I can remember watching the Impossible Astronaut for the first time and literally just like dropping my jaw as soon as he got shot. I was like...
Do you know what it is, right? That first episode is... I remember just watching it and it just felt like a nuke went off in my brain.
Oh yeah, just for sure.
It's just... those... The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon are the most mind-boggling episodes ever. And it just gets more mind-boggling throughout the series. But these two episodes are just so mind-boggling.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Whether or not everything like sort of is finalised very well, because I mean a lot of this stuff doesn't really end with Series 6. It goes off into the end of Series 7 and into Matt Smith's final episode. The Time of the Doctor, but for what it is currently in Series 6, it's kind of just things is everywhere. There's just a lot of seeds planted and nothing's really resolved. That being said, I'll give him credit. The silence are pretty awesome. Like, well, or at least the silent creatures. Yeah. Maybe not the organization, but the creatures themselves. I'm actually going to jump
creepy as hell.
Yeah, I'm actually going to jump immediately to best villain, that being them, specifically in Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon.
Oh, yeah.
Because those things are absolutely... I mean, even to this day, they're still absolutely terrifying and very well designed. I just love how much of, like, a classic alien they look like. Basically just sort of, like, a more, like, angry, taller version of Paul. That's now 2 references to Paul in, like, 2 weeks. That's actually kind of weird. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that one. But yeah, these guys are really creepy. That being said, I think like the whole lightning thing is a bit, but I just love the concept that as soon as you look away, you just forget them immediately. So they're like the most manipulative creatures in existence. I think that's really cool.
It's frustrating at the same time though, because I think definitely as a kid, like when Amy Stevenson's like, right, I'm gonna go tell the doctor, and then the doctor's like, is something wrong? And she's like, oh. Nothing. Like, oh no, these guys have got like spaghetti power things, don't they?
Spaghetti powers.
Oh no.
Powers. I like that. Yeah, I think they're absolutely spot on. But let's talk about like our favourite episode. Now, I think you've already referenced your favourite episode a couple of weeks ago.
It's changed slightly.
Oh, okay. I'd like to hear your favourite episode, and if you've got any, special mentions or whatnot, please. Just feel free to reveal.
It was originally Night Terrors because that is just a pretty creepy episode.
Mm.
The weird doll things and ugh. I kind of just like the idea that you get teleported into this little boy's nightmare of a dollhouse with creepy dolls, and anything that he doesn't like gets chucked in the cupboard and it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. And like the lift as well. Like, I never liked lifts as a kid. I honestly hated them. I'm still pretty with lifts, especially old ones. I don't like them. Right, I don't like being in a metal thing on a cable. Okay. But yeah, it's a weird episode. It is really bizarre as well as creepy. But I'd honestly have to say, in terms of a favourite, I'd probably just say the first part of what would become like in Series 7, The Wedding of River Song.
Wow, really? Holy shit. I was not expecting that one.
Yeah. I was going to think of the God Complex as well, but it's just so weird.
Okay.
It's too weird. And there is a lot of weird episodes.
There is.
But what is your one? Because I have a feeling we're gonna... I swear to God, if this is the Rebel Flesh. I swear to God.
No. Just no, it's definitely not that. It isn't even the worst, surprisingly enough. No, I would have gone with an honourable mention. I'm actually just going to go with a tie because I flicker between both these a lot. And that is The Girl Who Waited. Sorry, Dad. And The God Complex.
Oh.
Funny, what I love about both of these is that they really plays on how manipulative the Doctor actually is, even just accidentally. I love... Here's the thing, The Girl Who Waited I didn't like initially, same with The God Complex. It's taken years for me to really appreciate how much I love them, and I do legitimately think that they're like some of the finest, period. Absolutely adore them. The Girl Who Waited was, had the possibility of just being cheap as hell, because it was, it was shot with next to no budget. And you'd be hard-pressed to realise, they do it really, really well. I love the older version of Amy. I love how jaded she is with the Doctor. Again, I love how manipulative she is. But most importantly, I love the development they give to Rory. Because he gets so much, and he finally gets to become his own character in this episode, because he's not tied down to just following Amy around all the time, which is what he'd done for a series and a half. He literally calls the Doctor out on stuff this go around, which actually reminds us that he does that technically in his first proper appearance in The Vampires of Venice. Literally one of the first things he does is just calls out the Doctor on how manipulative he can actually be. So I like that it comes back here. Handbots I can... yeah. And The God Complex. Again, dealing with, I guess, technically how manipulative the Doctor can be, but also just the faith. In particular with Amy, because her faith is very much tested. That is kind of the core thing surrounding the God Complex. It is literally faith, both metaphorically, religiously. This time not with just Christian, this time with Muslim, which I really appreciate, because I think we've seen enough Christian stuff, and so I really like that. I love the concept of the Minotaur. I think that's really cool. I also think it's really tragic as well, because he's not the villain. Technically, the villain is the bloody hotel. Which, funnily enough, that episode was actually going to feature in Series 5. But because there was a lot of running around in corridors, the writer Toby Whithouse did The Vampires of Venice instead. All of a sudden, this one works better in Series 6, and I still maintain that the ending is beautiful, and I think it should have been the end for the Ponds. But no, we get another half a season of them. I've got things to say in a couple of weeks. But yeah, for me, those are my favourites. Least
I will
favourites.
say that I think it's pretty much maybe the start of that episode with the creepy dolls in the room, and they all just turn around and start laughing. That is creepy as hell.
I love that.
Whereas this insane character is just on the floor, saying, "Worship him, worship him."
Praise him.
And there's all these creepy dolls just going, It's just go. Doctor, just go.
Suddenly, that laugh was like a spot-on impersonation of that. Are you sure you didn't actually do that laugh in 2011 for the episode?
No.
Is that a lie? It is a lie. I'm sure of it. Yeah, so weakest episode. There's a few, to say the least.
Yeah, I think the tough choice is actually picking which one though, but I think just because of I think I'm just going to mention them. Well, if for my picks, I'd definitely say Curse of the Black Spot and Closing Time. I like Curse of the Black Spot because it involves pirates, but nothing truly... It's quite generic.
Yeah.
The pirate mythology, the siren and stuff like that, I like it, but I just don't like the fact that, it's all this happy ending and stuff. It's just... It's a bit generic.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
But with Closing Time, again, this is just a Cyberman episode where the Cybermen are just so underused.
Oh yeah, for sure. Then again, I always feel like a lot of their stuff in the Revived series is very much just underused.
A lot of it is
to
really
say the
underused.
Least. Yeah, it's weird. I can't really give any dishonorable mentions to worst episode because there's a lot of stuff that I could easily say is the weakest. Definitely with Curse of the Black Spot, definitely with Closing Time. If I had to pick like a dishonorable mention, I would honestly go with Night Terrors. Frankly, I find that boring as hell. And to this day, I've watched it twice.
Right.
And it's 11 years old and I've watched it twice. Anytime I watch Series 6, I just tend to skip it because I'm just like... Also, no offense to the lad, I'm sure he's absolutely lovely, but I just hate George with a passion. He pisses me off, he's annoying. Please save me from the monsters, please save me from the monsters, please save me from the... Just like, shut up, you stupid 7-year-old. My God.
My God, talk about repressed feelings. Dear me.
Yeah, no, easily the worst episode, which is weird because whether or not people class it as Series 6, some people class it as Series 6, some class it as Series 7, I class it as Series 6 because it's from the same year. That is The Doctor, The Widow, and The Wardrobe. I hate virtually everything about this episode. It is just a downgrade from A Christmas Carol in virtually every single way. It's dull, it's boring.
Do you know what? I'll just admit it even now. Like when I rewatched it, I put it on and I was just doing other things in the background. Like it's so boring. I just don't like it.
I also think
and compared to A Christmas Carol, as you say, like A Christmas Carol is just a wonderful episode
absolutely.
/ special.
Yeah.
But compared to that, it's just nothing.
Nah, it's just completely... Yeah. I also like how finally, despite the kind of villains we've had in the past in Doctor Who, which has been many of this kind of style, these villains are very wooden. Both literally.
Quite literally.
quite literally. If they're even classed as the villains, I don't know if they are, because they're just, like...
I don't think it like, they're not exactly the villains, like, they're just... They need help, and like it's just the misunderstanding of they need help, but everyone thinks they're the villains. It's just...
Yeah. I didn't care at all. Save for the opening action set piece on the ship, I quite like that a lot. That's like really cheesy. And just seeing just sort of like an action hero style version of the 11th Doctor is pretty fun to say the least. And I do actually quite like Claire Skinner as the one-off companion Madge. She's actually quite good. Otherwise, it's a bit of a train wreck. Little bit of a train wreck.
Bit of a Christmas train wreck.
Yeah. If you can really call it Christmassy. I mean, like, it's set in the snow, but how weird. Yeah, I'd already mentioned that my favourite villains is probably the Silence in Series 6. I'm curious what yours is. I'm assuming it's probably the same.
Yeah, I think without a doubt the Silence. Though this series does have some good villains, but the Silence just totally and utterly knock it out of the park. Mm-hmm. They're really good. The story of them's good. And it's just the way they look. Like, they're so creepy and eerie. Like, oh, it's disturbing. I mean, that scene with when Amy goes into the bathroom and there's one just stood there. Like,
yeah.
Oh, God, Amy's
just
in
like,
trouble.
Ta-da!
Oh, no.
I think it would have been even funnier if he didn't realise that she was coming in and he was just busy just like washing his three-fingered hands.
His very long
or something, just
finger.
Like, oh, sorry. Woo! Spoopy.
Spooky alien.
Yeah. Worst villain. I'm actually going to go with, honestly, the Peg Dolls in Night Terrors again. I just don't like them. I just think they're so rubbish. I did find it quite entertaining when Amy briefly turns into one. I'm like, oh, finally they're going to kill her off by turning her into even more of a wooden character. But no, it's like for 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, I don't care for them at all.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna go with the gangers from the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. It's just such a weird episode.
Yeah, I mean,
I know I've said that a lot, but this is just like a two-parter that I just really couldn't give a shit about.
That definitely seems fair.
Like it just doesn't know what it wants to do with them. Like, it's 1 minute like, oh, we need to, teamwork is dream work, and the next minute it's like, oh yeah, we hate each other. So I was like,
yeah, it's a bit...
make your damn mind up. And then it just goes back to like all the happiness of like, you know, the Ganger's original clone gets killed, so the Ganger has to become him. It's just like, you just don't know what you're doing, do you?
Yeah, it was pretty poor. So yeah, I suppose it's pretty much a tie between the Peg Dolls and the Gangers.
I will say that it's not so much as a bad villain, but I'll just mention it now. The episode 12 closing time with the Cybermat and when it attacks the Doctor, I just piss myself at that scene every time.
It's literally a bitey slug. I love it.
Yes,
it's a slug on wheels.
It's a cyborg slug. Like,
a slugborg.
I like it how he, like 1 second he's examining it and then the thing is like,
yeah, it's
it
like,
kills me.
It's cute. Teeth. Oh, okay.
And even though it isn't exactly the strongest of episodes, I just find it highly amusing the Doctor can just understand baby. Like, oh, he doesn't like that name. His name is Stormageddon. And we are peasants. I found that pretty funny, even if it is a bit of a weak episode. Because again, the Cybermen are just horribly underused.
But now it's time to do our classic segment that we started a couple of weeks ago, so it's not really classic. I just finally wanted to do something with it, and that is random trivia. Got a little bit of trivia for each episode because, you know, it's fun. I'll say this off the bat. I've already said this to Dan before we started recording. I actually forgot to put any trivia in for the Rebel Flash 2-parter, which is fine, so we'll just kind of ignore it, which is what most people do anyway now, as it turns out. So, for the Impossible Astronaut, also forgot to mention, we got Mark Sheppard in as Canton Everett Delaware III, who I actually knew first from Supernatural, because he was on that for many, many seasons as Crowley. On the podcast Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, he was talking about his work on this episode, where for one, Michael Rosenbaum admitted he's never seen an episode of Doctor Who, and I was like, you absolute heretic. My God.
Blasphemy.
We talked about he talked about how they initially wanted to put prosthetics and makeup on Mark Sheppard so he could play the older version of himself, which you see at the beginning of The Impossible Astronaut. And then Mark was like, that's a bit stupid. Why don't you just ask me dad to do it? I was like, oof, that's actually a bit harsh, but then also that actually makes perfect sense, and they do, and it works really well. Yeah. Who's also a massive fan of Doctor Who as well. Also similar with Day of the Moon, incorporating Richard Nixon into the plot was actually accidental. Because, you know, Stephen Moffat wanted to set it during the moon landing, and he looked up the United States President at the time, because of course you had to Google that. When he found out it was Nixon, he actually didn't like it. He actually called him a rubbish one, and was tempted to go with someone a little bit more generic and a little bit more unnamed, a bit like, what's his name, President Winters in Series 3.
Yeah.
But then he decided, well, we'll stick with Nixon, especially because it works with the whole Nixon tapes thing and stuff like that. Especially with the silence for getting things, it works quite well. Curse of the Black Spot, this is actually notable, both in that none of the guest cast actually die, there's no body count at all, and there's technically not a villain, which we've seen a little bit more often.
Hence why it's a weak episode, because it's just no villain, it's just the misunderstanding of the siren. Yeah.
Next up with the Doctor's Wife, I mean, I will say this, I do actually really like this episode. I don't love it nearly as much as other people do, but I think Neil Gaiman did a really good job with this one. But as ever, more issues with budget. So the 11th Doctor Companion book actually mentions that there was a thing cut where it said that Idris as the TARDIS, or TARDIS as Idris, mentions that the chameleon circuit isn't actually broken. She simply stays as a police box because the Doctor likes it. Which I think is so cute. I really like that.
Okay, that is pretty adorable.
Yeah. And that during their farewell conversation, the TARDIS was going to tell the Doctor that he was forgiven for his actions in the Time War. I quite like that as well. That's actually quite nice. Even if
I,
means
I really find the ending of that pretty sad because they have such a bond together.
well, it's literally as soon as he says hello, and I'm just like, nope, I'm gone. Thank you.
Nope.
Thanks,
Stop it.
Neil.
Stop pulling the heart. Right, let go of it.
As I say, I forgot about the trivia for the Rebel Flesh, so I'll say a bit of trivia. These were episodes that were released week by week. That's about it. Sorry. Good Man Goes to War. Lots of things change at the last minute. Do you remember noticing in the credits for A Good Man Goes to War that there's a line written that says, Ood, originally created by Russell T Davies?
Yes.
That's because An Ood was going to appear in this episode and did, but then got cut. They just forgot to remove it from the credits. When the Doctor's assembling his little... Yeah,
I was wondering where the Ood was. I was like, maybe I missed it, and then I was like, must have just cut it.
Yeah, it's even more annoying considering that it's an Ood that we actually know. In the Doctor's
Was it
little
the
army.
Ood from Series 4?
Ood Sigma, yeah, it was going to be him.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't see him popping up as like a member of the Doctor's army. That's a bit weird. But also, Captain Jack Harkness was also going to appear. But John Barrowman had to say no because he was shooting the final series of Torchwood in America. That would have been quite nice to see him again, though, especially alongside the 11th Doctor. That would have been awesome. But no, instead, we got him alongside the 13th Doctor. Spoilers. Let's Kill Hitler. The title.
You know what, right? Even to this day, from the moment that Rory Williams locks Hitler in the cupboard, it's just... It says everything about that episode. It says absolutely everything.
You've also got to love the fact there's just like a little mini story point between Let's Kill Hitler and Night Terrors, and they both feature a little thing about a character locking things away in a cupboard they really don't like. One of them being Hitler and the other one being peg dolls.
Yeah.
As connections go, it's a bit weird. But yeah, so at the point that this episode was written, Moffat was overseeing 6 episodes of Doctor Who and 3 episodes of Sherlock, and he was also writing The Adventures of Tintin. So because of that, this thing was shot with a first draft script, and you can really tell he didn't get to a second draft.
Bits and pieces of it, certainly.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Mm-hmm. Night Terrors. This was originally going to be the 4th episode of the series, but then got pushed back because they thought it was a bit too dark. So a scene with that Madame Kavarian woman with the eye patch was removed, and the ending with the Doctor looking at his death date on the TARDIS screen was added in. There's also a bit of a line of dialogue where at the end, when they're all back together, the Doctor's like, well, it's good to be all back together again in the flesh. Which is obviously a nod to the fact that Amy's actually flesh.
Yeah.
So, in reality, the version of Amy that's in this isn't actually Amy, even though it technically is now, because they swapped it around, which I thought was quite funny. So, The Girl Who Waited. I picked up on this pretty much immediately when I first heard it. There's a reference to there being a Disneyland in one of the adventure zones on the planet that they're on Appalachia. Love that name, Appalachia. Appalachia.
It's kind of like that little balalafakata.
Banacafalata.
Yes.
Banacafalata.
Can I just call you Bal? Balacafalata. Balacafalata.
But yeah, there is a Disneyland on the planet Clom, which of course is the homeworld of the Absorbaloff in Series 2.
Yes.
Clom is also the planetary neighbour of Raxacoricophalabatorius, home of the Slitheen. I'm just like, I assumed that Clom was like a really rubbish planet, so having a Disneyland on there must be really desperate.
Do you know what? That episode in Series 2 where the Doctor asks what planet he's from, Clom, he's like, oh.
Clom. It's like, ugh. Yeah, the God complex. I mentioned this before about the different versions of faith. You've got religious faith with Anita, who's the Muslim character. You've also got the character of Howie, who's the one with the with the weird puppets. He's already tied up at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
He deals with Luck. And again, Rita, sorry, not Anita, because Anita's actually a thing from... Oh yeah, Anita's the companion of the Jackson Lake Doctor and the next Doctor. I've just realised. Oops. But yeah, it was Whithouse's idea to go with a different form of religion outside of Christianity, which I definitely really liked. Closing time. I'm actually going to have a sound effect for this. Suddenly, us doing this as audio makes sense. Hang on, just here. Right. So, at one point in closing time, you've got the Doctor attacking the Cybermat in... I'm just going to go with James Corden's house because I've forgotten the character's name already.
Bloody hell! You know what it is? It wasn't that long ago since I watched it, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
God.
And he uses an app on the sonic screwdriver to disable the Cybermat. It's actually one of the bonus sounds found on the toy version, which I'm literally holding in my hand. It's this sound. Never heard before in the entirety of the show until that point.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah. And also that's technically
I bet when you found that out, you had to like double check and like you got your little screwdriver like, it is.
Yeah, it is that one. All of a sudden, having the wrong sound chip in this bloody screwdriver suddenly works just like an absolute treat. But yeah, again, never heard before until closing time. So, positive, I guess? Not really. Wedding a River Song. For some reason, Dan's favourite of Series 6. I've got many, many questions. Much like with Let's Kill Hitler, this was also shot with a first draft script.
I think it'll come to change, but I think just picking one, I'd probably go with that. Just because obviously it's like the first part of what is to come sort of thing.
Yeah. And then the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe. I believe it is actually referenced in the episode, but I completely forgot again because no one liked this episode. The planet that they're on, not Earth, obviously, the snowy one inside the Christmas present. I'm still trying to apply logic of that. That planet is Androzani Major. And the Fifth Doctor's final story, The Caves of Androzani, took place on Androzani Minor, which I thought was quite interesting to go with.
Coincidence?
I was also like, can you please not connect yourself to one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, allegedly. I haven't watched it yet. Because I was like, can you please just keep it your own thing? Like, please don't ever do that again.
Like, you know what it is, right? If they did, if that episode was a bit better, I wouldn't really mind the reference to it. And if the 11th Doctor made a reference to, like, the regeneration of the 5th Doctor into the 6th, I would have liked that. But it would have to be a bloody good episode and not the way it is now. Yeah,
definitely. But yes, that is the trivia. Final thoughts on Series 6? Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah,
weird,
very experimental.
I don't know how many times I've said that word, but weird, but wonderful.
Yeah, it's definitely got some bright spots in it. But there is a lot of just sort of like, I mean, it looks terrific. Didn't get us wrong. It's got some really good talents behind.
When you look back at the older series, like, as I said before, that it's pretty obvious this is a very experimental one. Like, they do a lot differently compared to the other series where they kind of just follow, like, their roadmap of it. This one is just a total...
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing of River Song is just a nuke going off in your brain.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. We haven't mentioned that bit. I mean, look, I can remember watching
that episode, Let's Kill Hitler. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, River Song, I'm your daughter. It's like,
Ta-da.
All right, then.
It's a bit weird, though, how, like, no one would have known that at all, because there's no, like, setup for that until this episode at all.
Yeah.
Although I kind of picked up on it as soon as you said the kid's name was Melody Pond. I was like, okay, swap it the other way around. water, music, river song. There you go. It's like, God damn it. Yeah, I mean, look, I really like River Song as a character. I think she's really cool. Her being Amy and Rory's daughter is pretty cool in this series, but it's never addressed again, like, after the fact.
Do you know what it is? Like, it just acts so normal in the next one. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, there's no big deal. No big deal.
Yeah, just, there we go.
Like, the Angels Take Manhattan. Mm-hmm.
It's fine, Dan. We don't have to talk about it yet. Not for at least...
Yep.
Is it 3 weeks?
Good.
I think it's 3 weeks.
We've definitely got some stuff to say on that.
You've got some things to say.
Episode.
Oh, yes. I've got some things to say on that. Said Bean, apparently.
Oh, Doctor! Take control of your timeline.
I'm going to have to watch bits of Series 7 now. I don't want to. Well, I'll watch probably like a compilation on YouTube or something. Because, yeah, we've definitely got things to see on Series 7.
The angels have taken Gotham.
Are you quite finished?
Yeah, I'll stop
now. But yes, that is our thoughts on Doctor Who Series 6. A little bit scattered, not so high, but then that makes sense for this series because it is scattered as hell.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you very much for listening. As I say, we'll talk about Series 7 in a couple of weeks, but next week we have our review for Prey, the Predator prequel that we're both very much looking forward to seeing. And
oh, yes.
I've got high hopes, but I'm also terrified.
Can't
just
wait.
in case it's complete rubbish. Because, it's entirely possible, especially after watching bloody Predators and flat out refusing the Predator. Just, no, I'm not doing it. But yes, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Goodbye.